Welcome to the Bexar Facts podcast. I'm Lisa Baratachea, and I'm joined today by my friend and colleague who also serves on our executive committee, Marcy Trevino-Ripper. And our guest today has been elected 4 times by her council district. She serves in the largest council district in San Antonio, and she also serves as the tri-chair for the Alamo Citizens Advisory Committee. And I want to welcome our guest, Councilwoman Rebecca J. Viagran. Yay!
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Sorry, Marcy, I forgot to give you a pause to say hello too.
It's okay. I didn't really know when I was supposed to. I'm happy to join y'all again on the Bexar Facts podcast.
We're thrilled to have you. So this is a very special podcast because these are the 2 women who I call to talk shop and to talk shit. And so I'm super excited to have my girls with me on the podcast today. So I know, Rebecca, you know about Bexar Facts and that we've been around for about a year. And we started doing this podcast very specifically because we had all this data and we really wanted to figure out a way to bring it to life. And so we started inviting people to the podcast to be able to dig into the data. And it just so happens that we had the latest Bexar Facts poll that was released before the election had a specific question about the Alamo, and so we wanted to bring you in to talk a little bit about that. And of course, in this light of the election just passed, I just want to recognize that you have been serving as a council person for a solid 8 years, and so congratulations for having a great run as a council person, and that I'm so proud of you. So as your role as the tri-chair of the Alamo Citizens Advisory Committee, I know that having that title and having that role is particularly special for you as a descendant of Lozoya Lozoya.
Toribio.
Say it again.
Toribio.
And so I know, coming from the hospitality industry, I know that this project was on hold. It was delayed. It had a lot of start and stop, a lot of stop. And since you've joined, there's been a lot of action. So I wanted you to tell us a little bit about some of the things that have happened since you started serving in that role as the tri-chair.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me. Yeah, so a lot has happened since March 1st when Mayor Nuremberg appointed me as tri-chair of the Alamo Citizens Advisory Committee, as well as a member representing the city of San Antonio on the management committee for the Alamo. And our main issue was we had to really look at where the reality, the new reality that we had to work with. Since the Texas Historical Commission denied our permit, the city of San Antonio's permit to move the cenotaph, we had to look now and see, okay, where are the avenues that we can move forward? And with a redesign of the Alamo plan. Yes, I was part of this on the council when then Mayor Julian Castro started putting things together. We had our Alamo Citizens Advisory Committee together because we knew that, like you mentioned, in the hospitality industry, people were spending about an average of 7 to 8 minutes at the Alamo. And we knew that it was a bigger experience that needed to be taking place. So since March 1st, I had to, along with the other tri-chairs, really had to reestablish relationships with the other members of the Alamo Citizens Advisory Committee, because they felt that, one, they were not being communicated to in a honest, transparent, respectful, and frequent way. They also felt that things were just being pushed forward without their knowledge. And they also wanted to be leveraged with their expertise. And that's why we all appointed them. And we had appointees from the state, archaeology and academia, city council appointees, Fiesta and other stakeholder appointees. We had to really rebuild those relationships and build a new sense of trust because it was new leadership. And part of my role was also to keep the council members informed about what was going on. We had to just get minutes together from the meetings. We had to get agendas together for the meetings. We made the meetings able to view online. We had listening circles. The two other tri-chairs, myself, Sue Ann Pemberton, who's been there since 2014, and Aaronetta Pierce, who was also appointed on March 1st, along with myself, to the ACAC. We had to listen and hear what was going on and acknowledge all of the work that many of the members were doing since 2014, but then look for a path forward with those charges that the mayor had put forward to make sure, let's do something without the cenotaph being moved. Let's not lower the grade of the Alamo. Let's give flexibility to traffic for our parades and our traditions to go through the site. But then also number 4 was to make sure that the plaza still had access to all of the community, that it wasn't walled off. And also to make sure that we could repurpose the Woolworth and Crockett buildings too. So we moved forward and we got to the point where council was able to vote on an amended lease agreement. And that's what we did on April 15th. But now the hard work begins, even harder work begins as we move forward with our interpretive plan for the Alamo plan.
But we've also got a new executive director, and the Phil Collins exhibit, I guess, is now that construction will begin.
So the collections building is in the garden area of the Alamo footprint. And that's going to be storage as well as rotating exhibits. And that just went for preliminary review to the Texas Historical Commission Executive Committee. And so it still has to go through design review before anything built is going to come up. But if anything is built, it would probably be closer to 2022. But, first and foremost, the lines of communication are really open now. And really, we're talking and we're having that open line of communication between Alamo Trust, GLO, and the city, as well as our Alamo Citizens Advisory Committee. And I think that's been able to go a very long way with all of our members.
And we've read recently in the news about potentially county involvement in the museum. Is that looking like a possibility from a local level?
Well, we're hoping any kind of financial help that we can get, we're going to be, very happy with it. And we do have members who have, had some relationship with the county there as part of just in collaboration with the Alamo Citizens Advisory Committee. But, I have not sat down and talked to the judge about that in particular, but I know that's something very important. And we're going to have a lot of conversations. We had our first kind of introductory meeting with the interpretive plan. Hold on. I don't know what that is.
Is it call waiting? That's the one on the other one.
I don't know. Do you hear something?
Yeah, I definitely do.
That is Lisa's mic.
Yeah.
Causing the wind sound.
It's on me. Sorry. I don't know.
You're good.
Are we
Okay.
good now?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right.
Ask
I
the
can't hear
question again and then let her answer again, okay?
Oh, I think it was that paper on there, Lisa.
Well, it's gone now. I
Okay.
moved it, but it was on there the whole time.
Don't try to understand technology. Just let's re-ask the question and let her answer again, okay?
That was my question, right, about the county? Yeah. We've read locally in the paper that Bexar County may be interested in being a part of the museum aspect of the Alamo project. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, I would be happy to, we'll be happy to have any conversation when it comes to financial help with our Alamo plan. I haven't personally met with the county judge on that, but I know he has been in contact with me, just very appreciative of the changes, and he spoke at council appreciative of the changes that we've moved forward with so far. But just like many of us in the Alamo Citizens Advisory Committee, I know the judge is also committed to telling all stories about the Alamo and the mission, and that's what we're working on right now with the interpretive plan. So hopefully we also have them a part of the conversation when we have all of these conversations about the interpretive plan and the different eras that we hope to be a part of, telling the story of the Alamo and the new experience there.
Well, it sounds to me like your leadership came just in time, because in our last poll, which went live on April 6th, we saw that 87% of the respondents were adamant about the Alamo remaining free and accessible, as you just spoke to. 70% of the people supported keeping the cenotaph where it is. People were split on whether the Alamo grounds and plaza could be used for private events, but 65% did not want the Alamo gated. So I think your ability to come in and turn it around and also be aligned with the public and the citizens and the voters at large through our Bexar Facts poll is just a testament to your leadership, and we have to thank you for that. And I don't really have a question too much there just a compliment.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And as was mentioned before, this was an honor that it's a great honor to serve in this capacity. And I also know it's a great responsibility to me personally with my family lineage, but then I know also for the citizens of San Antonio, of Texas, and our UNESCO designation, because it's part of our UNESCO designation. And it's so important that we have that connection to all of the missions. So thank you.
So that's a good transition into our next question about the UNESCO designation. I know Marcy was able to work on it a little when she was in the judge's office, and I got to work on it a little bit when I was working with you, just right after the designation, probably. And can you tell us a little bit about the designation, what it means to the Alamo, what it means to all of the missions, and then how has that impacted District 3 and your opportunities within District 3 for economic opportunities?
Yeah, the World Heritage designation has been absolutely tremendous, and I love talking about it with the other members of the management committee, especially those at the state and the Alamo Trust, because we can continue to share how important UNESCO World Heritage designation is internationally, and how you have just UNESCO World Heritage travelers who will go and visit any World Heritage designation, and how San Antonio is the only UNESCO World Heritage designation in the state of Texas. So that's a pretty big honor. And anyone who knows about any sort of travel and really big landmarks that you have to see internationally, UNESCO World Heritage is that important brand and that significant claim to have. And it's so great to have that. And as Marcy knows, and many people know, getting to the UNESCO World Heritage designation was not easy. And it's also, and we always get complimented wherever we go throughout the world, honestly, because when we talk about the number of groups and stakeholders that we had to coordinate, from the city to the county to the state to the National Park Service to the federal government to the Catholic Church and the Archdiocese and to the neighborhoods, that was a lot of people coming together. And that's why I think it was so important and so much sweeter when we got the designation. and telling the story at the Alamo, because the Alamo story and the site is one of the most recognized throughout, of course, the state of Texas, but the United States too. When people see that image of the shrine, they know it's the Alamo, and we need to make sure that we connect it to all of our Spanish colonial missions, our missions, and that includes all the way down from Mission del Valero or the Alamo, all the way to Mission Espada, south of San Antonio. And they're all together, an inscription or inscribed together. But we also have to remember that the residents and the people of the missions, they're the ones that kept the stories alive, those intangible stories that helped us get that intangible heritage that helped us get the designation. And I'll never forget, and I tell the story all the time, I'll never forget some of the ambassadors to the UNESCO when they shared that the missions tell the story of the Americas. And I love explaining that to the Alamo Trust trustees and board of directors members, that this is a significant designation that we have to connect all, and not just to our missions, but to the story of San Fernando Cathedral, which was up before the Battle of 1836, to La Villita, to the other two sites of the Alamo prior to where the chapel is now, to San Pedro Creek.
Well, and the
area.
river, the
And
San
the
Antonio River. I mean, the lifeblood
Exactly.
of these residents you're speaking about that lived at the missions and farmed at the missions and had agricultural crops near the missions.
And
It's
that's why they
amazing.
built the missions there, because of the river. So that's why they built them there. So that whole connection. And Lisa, you'll remember this because I think it was the day of we got the inscription of UNESCO World Heritage and we were celebrating. But then I got calls into my office because some people then started going forward with wanting to put apartments right across the street from Mission San Jose. And everyone was up in arms, myself, the residents, and we were, what is going on here? So that was then and there where I knew that we had to put together a series of World Heritage Symposia to, one, remind everyone where, what it is, what this designation is, and number two, preserve and respect the character of the neighborhoods, because we didn't want to see an overwhelming taking or putting up different things that made it look like almost an amusement area near the missions. Mm-hmm. So that's why we moved forward with our large area rezoning process, our zoning, our historic design review, our view shed that we had to put up, and just making sure that the residents had input in whatever is moving forward. And that's what we did at a series of symposia. And we have our World Heritage work plan. We have a legacy business program now. We're making sure that the businesses that are there, that have been there, can stay there, and really using our mission drive-in tours to help build up local and small businesses to thrive. And you're seeing that now. You have a new local coffee shop. You have the Nichas is moving over to a bigger and grander space with more room because they're pretty landlocked right now. And it's just starting to thrive, but still having connections to the community and not losing the character of what makes it so special.
Yeah, being able to balance all of that is a heavy lift. And so again, we thank you for your service on that. And yeah, I remember when y'all came home from Bonn, Germany, we put together a huge celebration and we had Cruz Ortiz printing shirts live and in front of the Alamo, and just a big celebration. And it was like early in the morning, I want to say. right when y'all got
It
off
was
the
very
plane or
early.
something like that. And
Oh, I
when it
wasn't
was,
even back yet. I wasn't even
oh,
back
were
yet.
you
It was the
not
judge
yet?
and Mayor Taylor who were back
Oh,
because I was still there. But that was okay. My team was out there, but I was still in Europe because I didn't get that first plane back. But yeah, and Cruz, who's a District 3 resident as well. I mean, they were out there, but yeah, I don't think I couldn't even really enjoy it because of that, what that was happening.
and then you came back to drama, and you handled it so well. And figuring out that balance of development and historical context and the residents that are there is it's a hard one to strike. And you've done a great job in District 3.
Thank you. And that I remember too. Then what happened was some people wanted to do a whole moratorium on economic development in the district. And I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
We've been living under a moratorium for most of our lives in District 3 because we've been redlined. There's a way to a balanced approach, like you mentioned, and that's why we did the World Heritage Symposia. So we got the designation in July 5th, and then already the following month or two, we were already starting our symposia ready to go because it was so important for us.
Well, and
tell us a little
establishing the
bit.
World Heritage Office too, right? That
Yes,
was, you had support at the city to do that important work.
Yeah. Well, the World Heritage Office didn't exist until I told the city manager, Cheryl, at the time, because we were doing a lot of work and finding out a lot of information. We became part of the Organization of World Heritage Cities organization. And I realized that World Heritage Management is so important, and it's better that the city take the helm, and we have with our World Heritage Office.
But they didn't exist until after the symposia, even, because I was there for the symposia and they were identified after I left. Well,
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about economic development in District 3. I know that's something that you're very proud of, and I think it's a tremendous story. I think that the dovetail with UNESCO is awesome, but aside from that, there's been such a boom in District 3, and it's been really tremendous for all of the South Side. Tell us more about it.
It has been very exciting. And, when I first started on council, I knew that we needed more single family housing in the southern sector because, we wanted we Southsiders, we wanted a lot of, amenities and stores, etc. But what do we always hear? You always hear people need rooftops. We need rooftops in order to put this in. We need rooftops. So I knew we needed single family housing because we just needed new housing stock too in the southern sector. And we've seen great investment in housing, in subdivisions, in new houses coming forward, and new single family builds coming forward, as well as multifamily. Was so
it's so
honored.
interesting to me that you would start talking about housing when I ask about economic development, and I think that's a really, really subtle but really important point. Growing up in San Antonio, we would always hear that South Side versus the North Side, the haves and the have-nots. Things never got built on the South Side, and then there was the City South initiative that didn't really get legs, And so I love that you're talking about housing. So speak to that also, but keep going.
Yeah,
I love it.
So it was about creating more opportunities for people to live and stay in the South Side. But then we also had to provide jobs for the South Side as well. I think, Mayor Taylor did a great job with the SA Tomorrow plan and really building out these regional centers where people could live and work and play and now learn close to where they live. So you don't have to go all over town. And that's what was important. And so I really did buy into that concept of the regional centers. And you already had Brooks, you already had Texas A&M, you already had Toyota, you had the World Heritage area as well. And so bringing more single family housing brought the people back to the southern sector because their families live here on the South Side anyway. I always say this, former Commissioner Tommy Atkinson always says half the north side is from the south side. So people also want to maybe go away, live away in San Antonio, or go away for some time, but then come back and live close to their family. Well, we needed to build housing stock. And I think you see that. And then with the census numbers and how the growth of San Antonio was happening, you saw the opportunity to build, and we did, along with multifamily, because sometimes some individuals could not afford straight out buying a house. But we want to have that transition but we needed to do new market rate multifamily. And truly, Dan Markson was one of the first believers and visionaries for bringing that market rate housing to the southern sector. And he believed, and it took off. And he was one of the first believers in that. And it was great to see that, and it continued to grow. And now we have a La Gloria coming, we have a Deco Pizzeria coming, and that's just the small businesses, right?
Where's
And
his
they're local
development?
small
Where's his
businesses.
development? On Brooks? Where's his development?
Yes, he has development all over, but he does have his market is the Kennedy. His market rate multifamily was the Landings, and then the Kennedy on the Brooks campus. And now, so we have the housing, but then we needed to bring the jobs. And the jobs came, of course, at Brooks, but the jobs then came at TJX Distribution Center, because we needed to have a variety of jobs, all salary ranges. So we have the Distribution Center, we have Texas A&M San Antonio, we have Cuisine Solutions, we have the Oaken BPS now. We have the medical school. We have a medical school on the south side of San Antonio. That did not exist. That did not exist 8 years ago. And Leo Gomez came onto the job at Brooks, I think 3 months before I did, came on board as District 3 council member. So we've done a lot of work together at Brooks, and it's been transformative. And the number of jobs on the Brooks campus is now more than when they had jobs when the Air Force Base was there. But more than that, Toyota Motor Manufacturing Texas went up to another line. We know Toyota has also invested over $325 million more dollars into their facility, their manufacturing facility there. TJX Distribution Center is going upwards of 1,000 employees into their distribution center there at TJX. Oaken BPS is continuing to expand their footprint on the Brooks campus.
What is that? What is Oaken
BPS is back of the house services for companies like payroll, etc. They're actually a company out of Czech Republic, and this is their first North American site, and it's in District 3. And then this week we're having the ribbon cutting for Cuisine Solutions, and it is their largest food manufacturing location, their sous vide, here on the Brooks campus. Their headquarters is in Virginia, but they are making a big footprint here in San Antonio. It is the most LEED sustainable manufacturing plant here that they have here in San Antonio. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place. And then, of course, TJX Distribution, they also invested dollars in land for the connection to the Mission Reach, from the end of Mission Reach all the way to the Medina River Trail. So it was over 11 miles that they donated and invested in to build out, to make to connect our river, our creek, our trail system.
That was a smart request, Councilwoman.
Thank you. I did request that from them because they didn't want to be annexed. So I wanted to make sure that we had some investment there. But you're continuing to see grow and prosperity in the community because we knew we needed to build and bring jobs. And then, of course, I mean, UIW School of Osteopathic Medicine, they had their first graduation this year of doctors, and they had their first match day. So we're going to have residents from to all over the United States that were educated and trained here in San Antonio at District 3. I remember talking to then President Luis Agnesi, and he always told me when people arrive in San Antonio and they say, well, where's the medical center? He wants them to ask the question, well, which one? The one on the north side or the one on the south side? I'm like, I love it. I love it, Dr. Agnesi. And so ours at UIW is a DO, and the one at UT Health is a MD. And so we have the best of both worlds in San Antonio.
Oh, you're muted, Marcy.
Can you explain the difference between the DO and the MD? I don't know if you know that, but that might be helpful.
So DO is more of the holistic approach where they'll not necessarily do a prescription or a medicine prescription to you straight out. They'll try some other, it's more like a family practice too.
Yeah.
So that's the best I can do right now, but it's more
a
holistic approach.
And that's important for our health and well-being of our community as well, for those that do stay. So on the workforce note and the economic development note, we are seeing the Ready to Work initiative unfold. Can you tell us how that may be implemented in D3 and the effects of it in D3?
Yeah, I think I'm so excited about our Ready to Work San Antonio program. You know, we did train for jobs, and even prior to the pandemic, all of us know that upskilling and a skilled workforce was needed for San Antonio and our region. You know, I've been on the Economic and Workforce Development Committee for, I think, my entire term. Yeah, my entire term on council. I've been on this committee, and I've been chair for these past 4 years. So we always knew this was an issue even prior to that. We knew we never even made it to some of the dances because of the need for workforce training that we had here in the city. So that's why the investment was absolutely necessary. We did it with the Alamo Promise. We tried to do it, you know, with Alamo Academies, but we needed to scale it up at a larger proportion. And we know that many San Antonians are also underemployed. So with this pandemic, it allowed us to really reset and give an opportunity for individuals to get that either certification, training, bachelor's degree, because some individuals are just a couple of hours shy of maybe getting an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. And that's why this is important. We have an advanced manufacturing hub in San Antonio, but specifically in District 3 too, with Toyota, with TJX, and all the Toyota suppliers, and Navistar. I didn't even talk about Navistar beforehand. So Navistar is up and running just south of 410 as well. Huge facility. I was able to take a tour of it just recently. It's going to be a huge facility, hundreds of jobs, continuing to need skilled workforce.
Well, and are they building electric?
They're going to be building electric trucks, and they're mid to large commercial trucks that they're going to be building there. And they see the future with the electric vehicles, and they're going to be using a lot of robots when putting together everything. And these robots are going to need humans to fix them. And that's where we need our skilled workforce to be in there and work.
And that's like a specialized skill set, right? So you can build a car, but to manage and maintain a robot, I would imagine being a much more specialized skill.
Sure. But, you know, they do that at Toyota, and they have need for workers. They have the need at Navistar, and we are just getting the word out for everyone that we're going to be hopefully building up the skill set with our Ready to Work program too. And everyone's, it's all hands on deck and really getting the word out to our community that these opportunities are there. You will have wraparound services. And I'm so excited that, and the residents, just like your poll said, the residents overwhelmingly supported the Ready to Work program in November because they know that there is a need and we're ready to give opportunity and to include that social, that economic mobility.
I think you're muted.
Yep. So I wanted to shift the subject. I wanted to talk a little bit about policing. It's been a big topic. We started polling the issue around policing last summer after the murder of George Floyd. We did some polling to find out what people thought about the police force in San Antonio, if they were supportive of the force of the police chief. We did some early polling around Prop B to see if people liked the language or just see if they liked the idea. You can see in the poll here, we specifically asked about funding, what people thought about, if people thought it should be defunded. You can see there, large majority disagreed. We asked if people thought that funds should go to other programs, which is a little pretty much split. You can see basically what we learned is that people were very supportive of the police department, of the police chief. They did not want it to be defunded. And then, of course, we know that Prop B didn't pass. And then we also know that the city did a poll around policing and police services. And I'm hoping that you can talk to the issue about policing and police services tell us a little bit about what the city learned in their poll, and then what's moving forward now. What are those policies that are going to shape police reform in San Antonio, or whatever that looks like in San Antonio?
So, yeah, and it was a survey, not a poll.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. That the city did, and it was really as a result of last June when we were doing our budget goal setting session, and knowing that 64% of our general fund goes to public safety, and that's fire and police, and a lot of accountability to the city council when it comes to how much money we spend on more military type gear, etc. But then also the survey was really looking at, okay, what do you think police officers should be doing with their time? Should they be going and checking on dogs that are barking? Should they be checking on graffiti? Should they be going and dealing with homeless or abandoned vehicles or something like that? So that was the survey. And what we found was there were priorities that residents said that, maybe the police can do some shared responsibilities here. And that was, of course, when it comes to graffiti, when it comes to, dogs, and when it comes to people with substance abuse or mental health issues that you see on the streets. And there should be some shared responsibility and not put the entire burden on the police department or on the police officers, because we do know that some individuals just have substance abuse issues and need help. And what does that help look like? It looks like bringing a social worker along, making sure we have beds. So if people need to go into a bed and just recover that way from a mental health issue or a substance abuse issue, those are some of the elements that were found in the survey. And a lot of San Antonians are very amenable to having police share in those services in some of these items. So that's one thing that we discovered, that a lot of the members, and we broke it down by council district as well. And you see that some people want to see more police visible, and some people are okay with the amount of police that they see in their neighborhoods. I myself in District 3, we are, as was mentioned, we are the largest district, 84 square miles. That's the size of the entire city of Seattle, Washington. And we do not have a police substation. So we need a police substation because we continue to grow with more housing. So we need more police just to get to the locations in time. So my residents have been asking for that for years now. We got some money in the budget to look for a location, and it will be in the bond. So, that's one thing that we still need. So we still need investment in police services because we need a police substation in our community.
Muted. No, I'm not muted. Sorry. I wasn't sure if I was muted or not. Where are we at? I got a little off, guys. Sorry.
I can't hear you, Lisa.
You're muted, Lisa.
We're
We just
switching
did-
the
yeah.
subject again to winter poll.
Yeah, I know.
Winter.
Okay. I was thinking about, because you said something, Rebecca, that made me think of something. Oh, mental health and mental health and policing. Trying to figure out how to ask a question. Because of how Kenny Wilson talked about, we had Kenny Wilson on the podcast, and he talked a lot about like trauma-informed care. And I was just thinking, is there a way to train police officers in that way, or have special units, because it is a specific training and specific way of managing someone who's struggling with a mental crisis, and helping them work through it on the spot. And so we just found it very interesting, Kenny's use of trauma-informed care, and because he was able to really connect with some of the people that are at Haven for Hope. And so for police officers to do something similarly would probably be beneficial long-term to the community and the police force.
But they have some police officers who have some specialty training, right? But it's not all.
I don't think it's trauma-informed care. Yeah.
So where our trauma-informed care is coming through the Metro Health department and our mental health. Our Metro Health department, and then also with our neighborhood, our Department of Human Services. That's also where our trauma-informed care is coming through. That's something that we are also investing in as a city budget-wise, but that's the same area that we're looking at when it's shared responsibility with police services. But yes, we do have a mental health unit that is recognized nationally as a standard of the training. We just don't have enough officers in our mental health unit. It is a lot of training, and we could use a lot more, but maybe that's something that we could put either social workers or other members of our community in with some officers. Similar to what we do with our crisis response team, we have civilians who work in that, connected with a detective who can work on, family violence cases. Maybe that's some kind of a structure that we can do when it comes to mental health units and with trauma-informed care. But that's something that we would need to find money from, and it could be a part of public safety.
Well, and with ARPA dollars coming down, the American Rescue Plan Act dollars coming down, the city's getting a large amount. Figuring out how to kind of program
not
those
as much
dollars.
as the county.
No, I know.
Not as much as the county, but yeah.
I don't know what that's. I don't know, but they're also not restricted. I don't think this time. I think that the county dollars can go to all county residents, and the city dollars can go. Well, I don't know. not sure on that one, but just the programming of those dollars and the institutional investment that we have the potential to garner is going to be, it could be a revolutionary, really, for our citizens, for the people, the everyday working man, if we're able to provide them some support through trauma and mental health and, whatever other things they may be struggling with.
Our last poll also had questions about the winter storm, and we specifically asked, this is the first time we polled what people thought about the response, about government response. And for the most part, people responded very positively. People were very approved of the job that the city did, protection from the COVID-19 virus, 70%. Pandemic recovery approval was 63%. Addressing child abuse, lower, 46%. And addressing the winter storm, addressing homelessness were both at 39%. So not majority, not like, hooray numbers. And certainly the city is not solely responsible for all of those things. But what do you think about those responses? Would you say that is probably, what you would expect, or are you proud of the city for having such a positive approval for the job they did for the recovery? Like, what do you think about those numbers?
So, meaning the response.
Yeah.
What do I think of the residents?
It is pretty positive for a number of them.
Yeah, I think, yes, it is positive. And I think so many people, myself included, all of us were frustrated and angry and cold. And I think it's very generous of them, of their rating, honestly, because I think, we're doing this investigation committee, or the city is, and there's a lot of learning that we have to do. And there's a lot of communication that we have to learn from on this, how we communicate, and just new ideas, and knowing that the old ways of doing things are not going to be helpful. And I think that was very generous of some of the responses that you heard, because we tried, we worked with our residents, but it was so difficult because some areas, like my Mission Del Lago area, didn't have anything. But then there were other pockets of my district that never went out. Their lights never went out. And we never received a clear explanation as to why. We just needed to take care of individuals and take care of people. And so we're going to continue to find out the answers, and we're going to continue to make sure that this never does happen again, and learn from a lot of the mistakes and continue to build up those networks of communication. I always say one of the things that really did shine through during that whole time was the response of neighbor to neighbor, because neighbors were truly looking out for their neighbors and taking care of them, either with generators or with milk or babies or something. But really, it was the neighbors looking out for one another and taking care of one another. So, yeah.
So I know that something happened at the end of last week. There were a bunch of articles that came out saying we're not going to know anything till June. Like what? That there's a lot of questions and that there's not a lot of response. What's going on with that, and why is that acceptable?
So what's happening is former Councilmember Reed Williams, he's the chair of this, and they're looking over hundreds and hundreds, almost thousands of questions came into this committee. And they're putting them all up on this website, sanantonio.gov, and the emergency preparedness. And so what this committee did was they posed all of these questions, and they gave a set of questions to the city to respond to SAWS to respond to, and to CPS Energy to respond to. they're waiting on those responses from the city, from SAWS, or putting them in the right order in order to start posting them on the answers online. All the questions are online, but we don't have all the updated answers online yet. CPS Energy has put some questions up there, answers to the questions up there, and some are just not acceptable answers that they've put up there. And we are needing more data from them. And some of the data, because they're now in a lawsuit, we're going to be able to get, we're not going to be able to get. But Chair Williams really wants to make sure we get all of the answers by June 15th. And I definitely want that because I'm out of there by June 15th. So I need to make sure that I can get those answers as well.
Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And I've always been wanting to ask this question, so I'm going to jump on it. But we ask everyone at the end of the podcast, if you had a magic wand, what would you do?
Like
for the community, what would you do for the community?
Or for your friends.
And for yourself, because you've put 8 years in, girlfriend, and you can have a magic wand for yourself also.
So thank you. Well, again, thank you so much for having me on. If I had a magic wand, I would want to if I had a magic wand that could make things happen right now, it would be number 1, to end racism. And number 2, to make sure that District 3 gets all of the money that they need to fix the infrastructure needs that they have had for generations here. Sidewalks, flooding and drainage, the parks that we need. That's what I would want to see happen here.
I feel like that's been your mantra since day one in office. Sidewalks, dogs, police substation. I feel like that has been consistently your message. And again, thank you so much for doing this. And I'm so proud of you for doing it, for stepping up, for following your dream. I know that your daddy had a big role in instilling this drive and passion for public service, and it just runs in your family. And so I'm super excited for you and to see what you're going to do next in your career. So thanks for being with us. Thank you, Marcy, for being on the girl squad today. And we look forward to seeing what's going to happen next. Maybe we'll have you back, talk about your next adventure.
That'd be fun. Thank you all very much for this.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, then.
Awesome, guys. Thank